All right. Hey, everybody. We're back with another Tales from the Long Box. I'm Wes.
I'm Chris.
And we are
Last Fashion Studios.
So, today, Chris, we got a very special guest with us. The very awesome, super cool Miss Leah Novak.
What's up, motherfuckers?
So, Manifest Destiny. This is a really cool series that I wanted to share with everybody. And I also gotta give credit by bringing in the person who shared it with me, the super awesome Leah Novak.
Oh, dang.
Wonderful editor, wonderful letterist, knows comics, makes comics, and so you know you're getting something good right away when it comes from a recommended, like comes as a recommendation from a person as knowledgeable as her, right?
I'm very picky, yes.
She is very picky. Right away, dude. These are all. She let me read all of these. These are awesome. These are wonderful. I'm super happy she recommended it to me. Everything about it is right up my alley. Monsters, historical fiction, beautiful artwork, killer writing, subtlety, little things that build into bigger threads and stuff later on. So. Yeah, let's take a look. Let's start with this first one right here. So,
where do we start? Where do we begin? Let's look at the cover, man. Like, look at that composition.
Yeah, it's the coolest. That's, I mean, I hadn't, when I go into comic book stores, I don't really have a reason to buy anything. I just literally look at stuff, and I mean, I know what Manifest Destiny is. I am down with the natives, so I immediately thought this looked dope. The art looked dope. So I flipped through it for like 2 seconds, and I bought the first one right away.
Hard not, with art this good, it's hard not to want to take a chance. Number one.
But just like the cover alone, like, this is rad. This is really rad.
Yeah, it's rad, and you know what? Everything right from the very get-go is a treat. I mean, right away you're looking at just hyper detailed landscapes,
very cinematic,
beautiful colors, and you've got your narration, which is all very fitting with the time. This is as historically accurate as you can get if you pull out all the monsters and stuff. Like, obviously the writer did his homework. He figured out the direction of the travels, where they stop. Definitely did all of his research in every way, shape, and form.
Look at that boat.
Well, yeah. So basically, these arches are. People start seeing these arches. This land is unexplored, so the president gets Lois and Clark to go check it out, and then gnarly stuff happens. All
part of the Louisiana Purchase and what we got, and it's basically this author, Chris. Are we calling him Dingies?
I'm gonna call him Dingus.
I am tempted to call Dingus, but Dingies.
Oh, so fancy.
We can get fancy.
Let's put
I like it.
Dingues.
Okay, cinematic. We're staying cinematic.
This is amazing.
It's very fun. I gotta call out the little bits of certain lettering, because we have our letterist right here.
Speaking of knees.
Yeah, it's the gnar for me. This comic book is so gnarly. It's so grotesque. It's amazing.
What would you call that? Bison Centaur?
Bitar? It's like a bison horse person.
Okay.
So you got to remember that the Lewis and Clark journey, they're exploring undocumented lands. They're supposed to be taking records of the different animals and flora and fauna that they come across, documenting the native peoples and the relations and all of that. this author takes that and he twists it. He goes, well, what did they get? Why did we get the land for so cheap? Because we got the land in that deal super cheap. It's questionable as to why we got the land that cheap, and so he takes it and he turns it on its head, which is basically the French were running around there, ran into all these monsters, had a bunch of people get killed, and we're like, fuck it, let the Americans let the Americans deal with it. And so Lewis and Clark have taken a group of, they're prisoners, are they not? Like, a number of them are prisoners, but some of them are military.
Some of them are military. Some of them are just regular people. And I think some of them are, like, degenerates that they're, like,
they're kicked out of society.
Their prison I think they're serving some of their prison sentence as this.
So one of the things that I actually kind of bothered me about this series or about these collections, you don't get the covers. The covers for the issues, there's no issue.
They don't put them in here.
There are no issue breaks. You don't get the covers. You don't get any extras. It's literally just the story. You can kind of figure out where each one begins and ends, because you're sort of looking for big splash pages, kind of like this.
Okay.
But it's not, and generally about 25 to 27 pages per comic, so you can kind of judge that way.
Do they go into the mercury poisoning at all in these books with Lewis and Clark?
Not in the first 4 series, they don't. But there's, I think there's about 8 volumes.
There's a few more volumes.
Yeah.
I will say this series.
Whoa.
Metal.
It's so gnarly. It's so cool.
When it came out, it was not on time.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at the art, you can understand why.
Yeah.
This is not, you don't just slap out 30 pages of this. You know what I mean?
No, everything is so carefully done.
Some of the stuff looks like has some Drusen-esque like cross hatching with like the white outlines to break apart the character from the foreground.
Think like Bernie Wrightson.
Definitely Bernie Wrightson.
Frazetta and some of the classic, and maybe even like little bits of Corbin with those zombies and stuff like that.
I don't see any shortcuts happening in this book.
Sacagawea is a dope-ass warrior woman.
Yeah, this is where she gets introduced.
She's really cool. Sacagawea was the main reason why the whole Lewis and Clark journey even survived. She was their translator. She was, I think she carried one of their, Lewis or Clark's baby. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, in this one, she's already pregnant when she meets them. She is very cold to them, naturally. You
guys suck.
This is her husband or her
escort,
keeper.
Really.
Her keeper or whatever he is.
He's like a French backwoods trapper dude who's been running around with the Indians and knows that there are monsters out there and that there's like weird diseases and things like that. So that's just like, people are like become these rotting monsters and, but each book, right, deals with a different style of monster. So this, as you can see from Flora and Fauna, all these rotting monsters things are Flora and Fauna monsters. And so with volume 2 you get Amphibia and Insecta. and so you've got different, like, you've got a whole different set of monsters. Meanwhile, they're telling the through story and sort of the backstory of Lewis and Clark and how some of them might have, one of them might have been sleeping with like a commander's wife, and
one of them has recurring flashbacks of him killing Native Americans, and he feels very guilty about it.
They're war torn. There's not, and these are realities of life at these points. And it's just you either deal with it or you don't. So this is where they're dealing with these weird, just mute, like crazy, scary.
Hang out with the frog man. He's gonna protect you from the flies.
You know, people are getting stung by these bugs, and it's doing like almost an alien style
Oh yeah.
Parasitic
body
wasps.
eruption and stuff like that. And so again, you can kind of
This is the
tell
stuff
where
that
an
terrifies me
issue
the most.
ends, right?
Yeah. Oh, look.
All the eyes.
All the eyes.
And
And,
the
his
screaming
face.
Yeah.
That is so creepy,
There
man.
are so
So
many
gnarly.
details within the art. Like, look at this crazy frog.
That's some good.
And they're trying to shoot it, but it's too smart and they can't fucking hit it. And so they're just having all these problems trying to get the boat unstuck. And so they're slowly losing men. Meanwhile, you've got
Crazy mosquitoes.
You've
and-
got people like losing their mind and starting to try and rape other people, and it's things get wild in this comic, and it never really lets up. You know,
No, they get no peace.
there's
Why are we here?
There's no.
it's a steady just dwindling of
Yeah.
Oh my
everybody
God.
around you.
I,
You know,
I
look
do
at,
like that frog though.
look at this,
so
like the
dope.
tongue.
Yeah. The tongues.
Rips this dude's leg off and shit.
Mine.
And then Lewis starts Captain Ahabing this motherfucker. he's riding the like rope underneath.
Right.
And just
Got a knife. Give my friend's leg back.
you know?
Did they eat it?
They eventually get through it, and they're
Oh.
cataloging
Make a
these,
trophy out of its head.
Yeah, and they're cataloging these
Cyclops.
monsters. They're cataloging these monsters to, you know, let the president know what all is there.
Bro.
Number 3, you
Bad
got the
deal.
This one
Criteria.
is-
This one, you know, so they're still burning some of these dudes who've been
Yeah.
infected. The party's kind of split up at different points. You've got every time they run into an arch, they know they're about to hit a bunch of
Like
just
bad
weird
stuff.
fucking monsters.
I do like all these characters are so well defined with like just their postures and how they move and everything, but like the environment itself is alive in this.
Absolutely. And that's why there's so much care and attention put into the
The
environment.
trees, the water, like everything is alive out there. Like even in these shots, they still take the time to show the trees outside. They didn't need to do that.
Well, and
most
look
people
at the
don't.
lighting.
Yeah.
Look at the lighting.
Yeah.
There's so much care put
There's
into
no
that
candles in that cabin.
lighting. These are just this lighting is all like all this is lighting.
Yeah.
This isn't pencil.
It's lighting to show emotion.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so well drawn.
Yep. And you know, it keeps introducing these characters, these things. Yeah, just different monsters. You
I
know,
didn't know how crazy
and
this thing was.
and there's
Oh, yeah.
there's
Yeah.
mutiny among the men. These people
Oh,
are sick
yeah.
and tired of it. They want to go home. Like, hey, fuck these monsters. Why are we chasing these things
Well,
down?
and these
this
new-
guy from the labyrinth?
And these new guys can talk, and they
Yeah,
you know,
there's
they try
there's
to-
a lot of surprises.
Yeah.
Some of it gets a little sad. Some of it gets a little disturbing because at
yeah.
the time the reality is these dudes were doing some disturbing shit. Sometimes they would make friends with Native American tribes just to turn around and slaughter them later. You know what I mean? And that's represented in this and some of these stories that they have told.
Whoa, this is a cool
this is
transition.
this is the story. I believe that he's talking about
Of
how
these people
of the
and
little
this
bird people.
monster that is terrorizing them. So
Yeah.
each arch, like I said, represents they're about to deal with some fucked up monster, and its location and the substance it's made of is usually symbolic of the type of monster they'll be fighting.
Do
and
they-
something came out of this one.
Yeah.
That's the big old baddie.
And the,
Do they
Yes,
say
dude.
who built the arches?
The arches.
as
Or is it
I
like-
didn't.
or is it
I
like
think
Stargate?
that's like the long mystery, you know, and I think that won't be revealed for quite some time. But there are definite clues that are built up throughout all these volumes.
And Sacagawea almost dies of
Yes.
a really bad fever in this episode too.
Caused by the bird people?
And I like you can tell time flashbacks usually by color.
Yes,
So
they
the-
do always
the
do
grays
the
were
the grays or the
sepia.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's super
This
gnarly.
thing is like pulling off people's heads and putting it on.
Yeah.
It's like a
Talking
temporary,
with
like
it.
trying to
Oh
talk
my
with
God.
Yep, that's the big bad.
it in this one.
It's so cool. It doesn't have a head, so it takes heads.
Life is pain.
Yes, absolutely. Like
look
this
at
thing.
that shit.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's
So
gonna
gnarly.
rip your head off. Boom!
Boom! And the arms at the same time
Yeah, and
for
it-
extra measure.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
so
make a puppet.
And then
I am Steve now.
that is exactly what happened. It's not I am Steve now, but that is exactly
Oh my
what
god,
happened.
it's so funny. I guys, again, I don't read these prior. This is the whole bit. Steve.
He's,
Oh, there he goes.
you know, but like I said, so they betray, you know,
Aww.
it's representative of
Birdie.
betrayal, and I don't want to give too much
Yeah.
story away. I want people to, I definitely want to encourage people to read it.
Volume
yeah.
4.
This one actually does a lot more flashing back. Apparently, there was another
Sasquatch.
party that went ahead of them, and it sort of suggests, you know, that there was only one survivor and what happened, and it's not good. And they draw parallels between that party and this party, and so on. But now you start getting this, like, this dude's imagining this Spanish, like, conquistador who went and did it, and he's, like, talking to him. He's not sure if he's real. He's not sure if he's mad. You're not sure if he's mad. And they run into Bigfoot,
Yep.
who happens to be, like, a cycloptic version
That
of
was
Bigfoot.
the skull that we saw.
Yeah, this is cool.
Which I've never seen a version of Bigfoot as a cyclops.
No,
it's very
completely.
cool.
And they were actually like really like docile and kind creatures, but then they started killing and,
You know,
and eating them.
killing and eating them, and it apparently it's sort of like
I'm sure
almost
they're
like
delicious.
Ravenous, a little bit like
Oh,
Ravenous.
that,
Oh, I
yes,
love that movie.
Right?
That was very
What's
sneaky.
that? Did they make it in a comic book?
I don't know, but it seems like it would have been at some
I
point.
feel like
That's-
this is
I
all a
love that
prequel
movie.
to The Thing.
I mean, you know, so yeah, really fun, wonderful series. Again, I don't want to give
Yeah,
too
let's-
much. Let's leave a little
yeah.
mystery for this, but wonderful series that
man.
Leah introduced me to, and I cannot
Yeah.
thank her enough for that.
You know, I do want to read these for some finely illustrated nightmare fuel.
And look at
Oh,
this.
absolutely.
It all goes all
And
the way.
daymares too.
Yeah.
Let's stop there.
So it is definitely, it can definitely be nightmare fuel for you if you are looking for it.
Visions.
But again, my only beef is I want to see the covers, man.
I want to see the
wanna-
concept. Does it have concept art in the
No,
bag?
No,
nothing.
not really.
It's got nothing. It's got, you go straight.
Oh, it's got a
from-
lot of.
You get straight from end to then.
Yeah,
add.
see that's
it.
I love the concept art.
I love the
and-
extras. Maybe they'll do ultimately at the end like a giant collected
me some
edition with
pinups of
extras. Hint,
Bigfoot.
hint,
Yeah.
Skybound. Hint. So
And when did this stuff come out? Was it the last couple of years? Or
Yeah,
was it fairly
it's
recent,
it's
or-
fairly. I think in the last like
let's say in
4
the last
years?
decade. Let's say
Okay.
in the last decade. It's like I said, it's not on time. It's definitely not on time. So it comes out slow, but it's high quality and it's definitely amazing. You can definitely pick these up at various comic shops.
This is 2016.
It's
Yeah.
easy. It's easy for them to order
Yeah.
for you, and there are a few more volumes available beyond Volume 4.
Oh yeah, because I think it goes up to 8.
Yeah,
Whoa.
7 or 8, I believe.
Oh,
So,
so
I'm
good.
super excited about this. Ready to read and get traumatized.
all right. Well, thanks again for joining us, Leah, and thanks again for sharing this comic with me. I
yeah.
am so happy to have read it, and I highly encourage all of you. So
Sweet.
go check it out, people.
Alrighty, guys.
Do it.
Take care.
Peace.